let the sheNEDigans begin. Long live the sheNEDigans.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to this video topic. So, let's talk sheNEDigans. Today's video, since it is the month of March, do you guys know which holiday is right around the corner? That's right, me laddies! It is definitely St. Patrick's Day! Okay, I am not doing that for the rest of the video. I'm sorry, I have a terrible Irish accent. Never doing that again. St. Patrick's Day is right around the corner, and as a cultural thing, at least in America and other places in the world, and as a Catholic, it is definitely a holiday that is celebrated by quite a few people anyway. And it can be I guess a fun holiday. I'm not one of those people who is just like, yo, get lit on St. Patrick's Day or something like that. I very much just, low-key actually celebrate it properly like a Catholic. So, but there are some things I do like to do, though. For example, I watch movies. Because I have nothing better to do. So yes, I do like to watch movies around St. Patrick's Day, to really get into the Irish feeling and whatnot. And there are quite a few good movies out there that, do have to delve with, stuff, with Ireland and whatnot. Or even St. Patrick himself. So, what movies might those be? Well, I have 5. So, here are my top 5 movies to watch around St. Patrick's Day. Before I go ahead and move on with the video, I do want to put in an honorable mention, mainly for my wife, Saida. So, I have never seen Luck of the Irish. I never cared to see Luck of the Irish. But I heard from quite a few people who are really big Disney Channel fans that they really like the movie Luck of the Irish. So therefore, it is an honorable mention for Saida's sake. Don't hate me, Saida. Number 5! So the first movie I'd like to put on here is actually the horror movie Leprechaun. Yeah, no shocker there. I mean, okay, the Leprechaun movies are all terrible. There's not even really an ounce of quality to them. They're all cheesy, they're all bad, but they are fun and hilarious to watch. The thing that really does, drive it forward when it comes to, like, any rewatchability is Warwick Davis playing the main character, the Leprechaun. And I do have to say that he is a very fun character. He's enjoyable. He has a lot of really funny things to say throughout the whole movie, and he does kill people in incredibly interesting ways. Yes, this doesn't really suit the whole St. Patrick's Day thing, but it is obviously a movie that has to do with, Irish legends and whatnot, so it is definitely a movie I recommend to a degree. If you haven't seen any of the Leprechaun movies, well, maybe see them if you want to. I mean, there's a reason why this is number 5. Number 4 would be The Magical Legend of the Leprechauns. This is definitely a movie that I have thoroughly enjoyed for many years. Oddly enough, it stars Randy Quaid, the uncle from Christmas Vacation and the other vacation movies. Yeah. Who knew he would be given a serious role? But, I mean, it's not a serious role, but it is. He tries to act serious in the movie, and I can't take him seriously just because he plays, I believe his name is Uncle Eddie from the vacation movies. Yeah, it's not good. But, I mean, the movie is very entertaining. Basically, the plot is basically about this guy, played by Randy Quaid, who is going through Ireland to potentially buy properties to build vacation homes for the company that he's working for. And he winds up getting basically into this conflict that is happening between the leprechauns and the fairies, because they're the prince of the leprechauns and the princess of the fairies fall in love with each other, and it basically becomes a Romeo and Juliet situation. Except there's a far happier ending in this movie. So that's basically the whole plot. And it's nothing special, it's not great, but it's a fun movie. Whoopi Goldberg is in it, and she plays the Grand Banshee. I don't understand does she have any Irish heritage at all? Weird, but okay. I mean, whatever. She plays the Grand Banshee. Odd choice. Number three, I would probably have to say is, well, actually the story of St. Patrick. There is an animated movie that I don't remember the film company at the top of my head, unfortunately. It is, but the animation style is very similar to these old animated Bible movies that were created by, I think the company was called Nest or something like that. And basically they made a bunch of movies on Jesus and the disciples and whatnot, and the animation style is very, very similar to it. This is honestly a pretty good retelling of the story of St. Patrick. It's actually one of my favorites. I know there's a live action movie out there, but unfortunately I've never seen it, and I don't necessarily know how good it might be. I know there's also some really big actors in that movie, but in this movie, it's just a simple animated, Christian movie on the story of St. Patrick. It's a good movie, and it's one I highly recommend. Number two. This is actually a personal favorite of mine. This is a movie that I have loved watching basically year after year because, I mean, it's a very cheesy, Christian movie, but it's actually one of my favorites. Even though it's cheesy, there's no bad messages in it. Basically, the story is of this little boy who, his father died in a plane crash, and he and his sister go to Ireland for a little bit to stay with their aunt, and they wind up meeting this man who is actually played, unfortunately I forgot the actor's name, but the actor plays Radar in MASH, and he honestly is he's the big star in this movie. I love whenever he's on screen. He's very charming, and he has a lot of really great things going for him, and basically these two children think that he's a leprechaun, so they kind of go on this little adventure to try and find this flute called the Faden to get wishes so that way the little boy can get his father back. Unfortunately, he doesn't really realize that he's dead, but yeah. But it is a very charming movie. It's very cheesy. The acting is not necessarily great, except from the actor who plays Radar. Like I said, it is a very charming movie. The one thing that's very odd is that the movie takes place in Ireland, but no one speaks with an Irish accent, and there's nothing distinguishable that says, hey, this is Ireland. It's very weird. The only character in this whole movie that has an Irish accent is the actor who plays Radar. It is odd and very, very odd. But, I mean, like I said, it's a charming movie. There's a good message about moving on from your past and having to deal with the future and putting your faith in God and stuff like that. It's an overall good movie, and I highly recommend it. Number one is definitely Darby OGill and the Little People. It is one of my favorite movies to watch around St. Patrick's Day every year, and it is definitely a Disney classic that's highly underrated, and I highly recommend for you guys to watch it if you can. Basically, the story is about Darby OGill, who basically befriends a leprechaun. Well, begrudgingly befriends. Well, the leprechaun more so begrudgingly befriends him, but still, they become friends anyway. And he tries to swindle gold out of him, through the wishes and everything, and the leprechaun winds up swindling him, and, there's a whole bunch of shenanigans and stuff that happens. Eventually, Darby OGill is about to lose his livelihood to Sean Connery. Oddly enough. Yes, Sean Connery's in this movie. It's a very odd choice, but it's still... Hey, I like him. He does a good job in the movie, and I can't argue. So, anyway, so there's that. And then the leprechaun, who I believe is called... Yeah, he's called King O'Brien. And he basically wants to save Darby OGill because he feels bad for him and his misfortune and everything. But the only way he wants to save him is basically by keeping him basically in the magical land of the Leprechauns. Not to be confused with the Hallmark movie I mentioned in number 4. And then eventually Darby OGill does escape, and he gets into a whole bunch of shenanigans with King O'Brien. So it's a darn good movie. One thing I want to say about it is this movie has a little bit of an emotional attachment to me. I mean, I have an emotional attachment to this movie. I'm sorry. But basically, when I was a kid, at the end of the movie, there's a character or a creature called the Banshee. And she scared the ever-living, flipping crap out of me when I was a kid. This was probably the thing that scared me the most out of all movies. And trust me, I didn't really see a lot of horror. Well, I didn't really see any horror movies when I was a kid. But this was the closest thing to actual nightmare fuel for me when I was a kid. The Banshee was freaking scary. And my sister Celine, once in a while, would like to pretend she was the Banshee by wearing a sheet and basically tried to traumatize me. So, yeah, that was fun. I love my family. So that's basically it. All of them, I have to say, although they might have flaws, they are pretty good, solid movies. And I highly recommend them to watch around St. Patrick's Day. I know there's plenty of movies I left out. A famous one is The Quiet Man. I recognize and acknowledge that is a fantastic movie. And I do love it. And I have to say, I'll probably put that in honorable mentions as well. I love it, but it's not a movie I like to watch every year. It's a movie I like to watch once in a great while. It's a classic movie with John Wayne, and I recommend it. I definitely recommend for you to watch The Quiet Man. It is a fantastic movie, but it's not really in my top 5 to watch around St. Patrick's Day. But hey, it might be in yours. And by the way, what are your favorite movies to watch around St. Patrick's Day? Make sure to leave those comments in the comment section below so I can look them over. And who knows, maybe I'll even agree with you to a certain degree. And I'd be very interested to see what you guys have to say about what movies you like to watch around St. Patrick's Day. And that's basically it, guys. So make sure to subscribe and like the video, and also share my videos around if you guys can. I would really appreciate that. Also, follow us on social media with Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And last but not least, if you guys can, I would greatly appreciate it if you could look into my Patreon. If you guys can help out in any sort of way in supporting the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. And I would thank you from the bottom of my heart for helping out the channel. So that's basically it. You guys take care. God bless. And when St. Patrick's Day does come around, have an incredibly happy St. Patrick's Day.